Welcome everybody. If you saw a recent video of mine, I told you a little tale, a little story about something that I called apple orchard cemeteries. That's correct. Let me give you some context of what I'm talking about. So in the town that I grew up in the Hudson Valley of New York, Apple Country. My neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods were all developed on apple orchards, very old apple orchards. So in order to develop these neighborhoods, decades ago, thousands of acres of apple orchards needed to be bulldozed, and all these neighborhoods were built. But if you take a close look in the town that I grew up in, there's little pockets of cemeteries or apple orchards that I call cemeteries because they're apple orchards, but they're completely surrounded by development. If you look over there, you see how there's like a house over there? Yeah, there's a neighborhood over there. If I point in this direction, I don't know, 500, 600 yards in that direction, there's another neighborhood. If we went 600 yards in that direction, yet another neighborhood, and there's no access roads. You can't get to these cemeteries, these orchards. So they were left neglected. And what my brothers and I would do on Halloween night when we were trick-or-treating, we would hop a wooden fence that was located right over here. Let me show you. And welcome everybody for joining. I was filming this video for the purpose of editing it, but I'm like, why not just do it live? I just hope that the service is good, that you can, it's not too blurry or anything, and that you can hear me all right. But right there's a house, and there used to be a wooden fence right there, and this is precisely where we would hop the fence and we would head in that direction through that very scary, very haunted forest. But trust me, those are all apple trees. Probably some of them could be over 100 years old. Hello, everybody joining. But I was kind of upset not to see the wooden fence, because that wooden fence, I remember, was such a complicated thing, being that I was like 4 or 5 years old, to be able to get over it. My brothers had to like hoist me up. But then as I was walking around, this blew my mind. And I came here today just because I was in the area, and this has been on my mind since I've told this story about my childhood. And I'm so glad I came, because for stuff like this, you see this? This looks like a big pile of just rotting wood. This was the fence that my brothers and I used to jump almost 30 years ago. It doesn't look like a big pile, but you see this entire mound right here, this whole overgrown patch. It's covered. Underneath it is just stacks of this wooden fencing, and it's obviously been replaced with metal fencing. Let's take a look at some of these trees. I'm not wearing the proper clothing at all for this. Not the right shoes, not the right jeans. I'm soaking wet. But tell me that this tree right here is not something from a Tim Burton film, right? Look how old and gnarly this is, and the moss. Listen to this. One thing I'm not seeing is the apples. Now, when I was a kid, the whole ground, it was overgrown, but there would be mounds of apples, because even though these trees were very, very old and neglected, and they were left unpruned, they would still produce tons and tons of fruit, and it made the whole experience aromatic. And check these out. Talk about aromatic. What are these? They're like tiny little daisies. very pretty. Some amazing things that grow in scary places, including, check this out. Some of this is poison ivy. I gotta be careful. But your eyes do not deceive you. This is some form of American variety of grapes. I'm certainly not gonna eat them, but just in case I'm wrong. But if they are grapes, this would be the optimal time to actually harvest them and to eat them. You could really, honestly, make jam or jelly or even wine using these grapes. Let me give you a close-up. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Here we go. Look at that. Look at how much fruit. Creepy grapes, says Rachel. They are creepy grapes. And I'm not gonna eat one. I don't feel like dying today, but yeah, they're grapes. Look at the, so why is your red wine red? It's not the juice. The juice is actually clear inside the grapes. It's the inside of the skins that contains all of the color. Getting off on a tangent here. Again, that's not grape juice. That is the pigment of the inside of the skins. That's why your red wine is red. And now I don't know what to do with my hand because I can't touch my clothes. My hand is dyed red. But what I really want to do is head in this direction, because this is, for the most part, from what I can tell, the direction my brothers and I would head on Halloween night. And I really want to try to find some of these apple trees. I'm shocked to see that none of these trees, I mean, I do see some of these don't even look like apple trees. That one look right there. I mean, it looks like a maple tree. But I'm shocked to see no fruits or trees, but it's still equally as eerie as it was. And I'm not even going to be able to travel very far because yeah, I mean, it's way too overgrown, and there's, God only knows what is lingering in these dark places. Creatures, poison ivy, snakes, I don't know, other snakes, but also the prickers. I've already got some blood drawn from my legs from some prickers. But here, oh my God. Here, I swear I did not plan this out. There's one and one only apple. This is nuts. I'm legitimately having a moment right now. This is exactly what I'm talking about. These were not pretty apples when we were kids. They were, you know, completely eaten, infested with bugs. They were fermenting on the trees. They were rotten. They were oxidized. But guess what? As disgusting as that sounds, let me get a close-up here. You know what? Let me flip the camera around. So this way, this lens is a little bit better. Let's get a look. I know this might be grossing some of you out, but let's get a close look. And Rianne, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. I always appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Look how, that's nasty. But let me tell you right now, if you could smell what I'm smelling, it's not a beautiful thing. It's not a beautiful thing, but it's very distinct. It smells like fermentation, and it smells like oxidized apple. I'm going to say right now that, just to clarify, when I told this story, I was talking about Washington Wick's Halloween candle. The night he came home, our friend Nikki, much prettier smell than this, but This one is particularly rotten, and I'm gonna give this a sniff. Hold on. I'm not gonna eat this. I mean, it actually surprisingly does smell like a yam. I mean, it looks like a yam. It smells like a sour apple that has fermented. And if you don't know what fermentation smells like, just go to an apple farm this time of year where they make cider, and somewhere on site they have to throw away their apple skins and their apple solids. They dump them in some sort of pile somewhere, and if you go to that pile, those skins, those solids will start to ferment, even in the cold of autumn, and you'll know what the smell of fermentation is like. And it smells kind of like this. So to me, this is like if we took a little bit of that fermentation smell, a really sweet apple, very overripe apple, but definitely yamish. It smells like a yam, or maybe I should say like a cooked down sweet potato. But that's so funny that I found one and one only apple, because there used to be thousands and thousands. And to be honest with you, all of the apple trees that I probably remembered seeing all of the ghosts and ghouls and goblins, trust me, some really spooky stuff happened in on this little piece of land. It was probably all in here, and this is like you would need a machete and spend several hours to dig your way into this. It's completely overgrown, but that would be the direction that we would head off into. We would get onto another neighborhood and do a little bit more trick-or-treating. But let me tell you, what this experience has done for me has really, not only have I been able to kind of see and smell some very interesting things. It's very foggy and hazy today, very wet. The ground is very saturated, and it's kind of warm. But something that, I mean, I don't know if it's sad or what, but I mean, the apple trees, they have to die at some point and have to be knocked down, but I'm trying to frame it right. These are the apple trees. I think just through natural weather, bad storms, thunderstorms, windstorms, these trees just kind of all collapsed on each other, and other trees that look kind of young like these have taken their place. But here's another apple tree right there. Definitely tell where the apple trees were and where the apple trees have broken. So I am gonna try to find my way out of here. I'll take you guys with me, but yeah, when I on the spot when I was making that video, talking about the apple cemetery or the orchard cemetery, I'm like, I have to go back and check it out with my own eyes and see it for myself. And yeah, this is where the stone wall. So there used to be like these very ancient stone walls that would be probably the property division lines ages and ages ago. And I think I see one right down there. The thing is, if I were to get down there, I would have to go through all of these prickers right now. And that's something I definitely don't want to do, but I'm gonna do it. If you guys don't know what super chat is at this juncture, maybe now is a good time I explain it. It's a little money sign, a little dollar sign. I'm gonna throw $1, put some gas in the vehicle for our trips coming up. I'm going to be hitting the road again at the end of the week. All right, check this out. This is what like the Blair Witch Project is all about here. Maybe I should like camp out one night out here. Because I remember when we were kids, I mean, again, we were kids. There were urban legends and tales, and I'm sure none of it was true. That there were tons of ghost stories surrounding this particular piece of property. And look at these. What are these called? Burrs? These things are really annoying, and I will be covered with them for sure. Now, what confuses me is that, like, there's just like this, what is this? Look around me. Overgrown, but then there's like this patch of like flat land. Maybe some kids of the neighborhood or neighborhoods still come out here and go camping. Maybe they still venture out into these parts, but definitely not these parts. I don't even know how they would get through that. I don't know how I'm getting out of here, to be honest with you. I'm gonna go in this direction. Oh, they're all burrs. They're gonna stick to me. How do I get out? So what do you guys think? This is, could you do this in the middle of the night? Whether you're 4 years old, whether, if this was tomorrow night, could you venture through these lands? I'm trying to think of one of the ghost stories. One of the ghost stories, there's always, it would always revolve around a young woman, an apple tree, and an accident. An accident that was always waiting to happen. And the story I remember is that late at night, if you came out, there was a certain tree with a certain young lady. She had a name, I can't remember what it was. And she'd be hanging from the tree by a noose, but she was still alive. And she would talk to you and tell you fortunes or cast spells. I can't remember what the stories were. The kids had wonderful imaginations. I think I found a clever way out of here. But yeah, wow. Okay, yeah, so this is where I remember there was another fence right here. We see the house and we see the highway back there. So when I say the property was surrounded, I meant it. It was just this inaccessible little apple orchard. I wish it was filled with apples. I was hoping to come here and see hundreds and thousands of apples and experience the aroma, but at least I found just that one apple, and surprisingly, some grapes. So I hope this was fun, a little bit adventurous. Again, I was gonna do an edited video when I came out here, and then I'm like, why don't I just go live? So thank you for joining. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you wanna see me come out here at night, or if you wanna see me camp in a haunted forest that you know of, and you wanna suggest a haunted forest, I'm willing to do something like that. Pitch a tent, camp out, create a campfire, and hang out in a haunted forest. There's a lot of houses around here, so I don't feel like it's super secluded. I feel like it can get a little bit more creepier than this if I were gonna do a challenge, like an overnight camping haunted forest challenge. But if you have any ideas, leave that in the description below. Thank you for joining today on this very hazy October. The mood is it's perfect. This very just tranquil, misty sort of day in October. It's actually quite warm and humid. I will be seeing you folks, but until then, be good, and I'm gonna recommend you stay out of these orchard cemeteries, because you never know what lurks in the darkness. Have a good one, folks.